I wanted to ask you about customization interaction around the advertising unit itself. What excites you and where would you like to see things go?
Well, I think there's probably two sides of it. One is the ability to interact and engage with a brand or an experience greater than the passive nature of viewing a video or through TV. So I think that's a great opportunity and things that we have been trying to pull through our TV investment for quite some time. The piece that I think that allows more opportunity is the notion of well, not only addressability, but the ability to use triggers to make those ads more effective. So your location or a city you might live in and being able to customize that experience or the ad to an individual that might find it more relevant. You know, whether it could be weather, it could be propensity to consume a particular product by virtue of purchase data, third-party purchase data that we might have. So I think all of that allows interactivity from both the marketer side, so I can interact better with you from a consumer perspective, and then from a viewer side. So I'm a viewer, I'm interested in that, either content, idea, brand, and I can then go and do more directly through the TV set or the OTT device or even a mobile device. But it doesn't, you don't have to now kind of like log out, log in, go write down something and do something later. It's that direct access and ability to understand something in the moment that I think is really interesting.
So where does that stand with your clients in terms of their interest embracing it? And of course it's the value exchange and the pricing is different. Mm-hmm. Where does that all stand?
Well, I think those things are still being worked out, right? So we still look at like passive age, gender benchmarks that we see on regular TV. But I think what's really been interesting is kind of that the KPIs on action that we're being able to layer into it. So if it's a lower funnel activity that we want to measure against and being able to optimize against those are the things that I think really get us excited, because that's all the intention of obviously your investment in the first place is who are you reaching and how are they able to do more with that brand. So we've tried to establish those more performance-oriented metrics as part of the business we're doing. And of course scale will be critical, like what's the relative mass or type of audience we can actually potentially achieve. And then as you funnel down towards that purchase journey, how am I able to then convert that into some sort of action or obviously business outcome that is critical to our client's business.
And Jon, the question of addressability, and there's a lot, we cover it a lot. We've been covering the satellite companies and some of the cable companies. Now it seems a lot of other players, the virtual MVPDs, others. There's tech platforms that are enabling addressable to an IP device, to a household. Where do you hope addressable TV advertising goes? What would sort of, where do you hope it goes?
Well, I hope it goes to a place where everybody can come together and understand what that advertising platform is and be able to sell it in a more national, simplified way. I mean, the fact that we do business, depending on the scale and the amount of investment you want to put into it, you're picking and choosing who to go through and having to work within those environments through their own interfaces. And it just becomes incredibly complicated for you know, a media agency, a creative agency, a client to be able to work that way on a campaign by campaign basis. I would like to see some more kind of holistic management, some benchmarks, you know, a more IAB type involvement in kind of figuring out exactly how that would work. And then there's the ad formats themselves, right? So everyone, we're measuring things differently. The methodologies are all different. The ad loads are different. So there's not one cohesive measurement that we're working off of. It's kind of like I call it like a Frankenstein approach to kind of audiences. And I would love to see that become, like, I know we talked about OpenAP once before, something that allows us to use segments and push them out in a way that makes consistency across the entire ecosystem. I would love to see that happen. And then specifically on the addressability side, getting more insight into exactly the amount of households. I know that we don't want to cross the privacy boundary ever, but I really would like to understand exactly what are the type of households that we are looking at. Where are the propensities for these brands to actually really work? Linking that to sales activities. I know we can bring in third parties around specific categories where we have an easier time doing that, like automotive, certain packaged goods, but like I just would really be able to understand better how households are performing against, I see a brand, I do this, and what is that household made up of before? What do I understand about that household before? That it gives me more of an insight as to what I'm going to get from them on the back end. I think that would tying those things together so it's not as much like we understand what's going to happen, but there's a little more guesswork on trying to identify who we do business with and what we're going to get out of it until you actually do it. And I would love to see more insights on the pre-planning stage from those media owners.
And finally, Jon, I know IPG works with your creative agencies on data. There's some creativity and data getting closer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you hope to sort of see from the creative side that would work in this sort of addressable or interactive world, and where does the creative community need to go in your opinion?
Well, it's funny, I'd say probably a couple of years ago it might have been a different answer, but I've actually been quite impressed about how creative agencies that we worked with have kind of made that transition into the different ad formats that exist. So the shorter form ads, like being able to get a message across in 5, 6, 7 seconds, I think is critical for the type of people viewing today. And I think that we've done a lot of work in order to do that, and the creative agencies have responded, and we see clients being able to do that and think that way. So I'm actually quite proud of that. I do think the companion of ad and then whether it's banner or linking to an interactive experience needs to be done better. We have a addressable content engine group that sits within that has been doing a lot of really interesting work about how do I serve the right ad to the right moment, to the right audience, to get a better outcome. And I think that is ripe for us to be able to identify more about who these households are, these people are, in order to make that even more responsive and more get more out of that advertising investment on the back end. So I'm actually quite proud of that. I just think we have a little more work to do in order to kind of bring all that together.